All right, guys, so we might have gotten the reason that Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 got delayed, and no, it likely wasn't because the game just simply was not ready. Nintendo might have had an ulterior motive, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So as you guys know, Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 was set to release in 2022, but it was unfortunately announced that it was going to be delayed until spring of 2023, which I won't lie, definitely crushed me. I was hoping to get Breath of the Wild 2 this year, but that ended up just not happening. We did, however, get some new gameplay, as well as a first look at the new Master Sword, which I guess is enough to keep me going until the next reveal, which I'm hoping is going to be this summer. Now, after the announcement of the delay, I definitely went through all of the stages of grief, but I did have one thing to look forward to, and that is a spring of 2023 release date. That was the first time that they gave us any indication of a launch window for the game. That just so happens to be the original launch window of Breath of the Wild 1. So as soon as I heard that, my brain started thinking, history is gonna repeat itself. It has to. And I'm not just talking about a March release date for Breath of the Wild 2. I'm talking about another console releasing alongside Breath of the Wild 2. For those of you that have been watching my content for years, then you know that I've been talking about this possibility happening since they announced the development of the game. We just didn't know which year it was going to land on. And I am certainly not the only one with this line of thinking. During a Digital Foundry podcast, they actually talked about the visuals of the trailers that we've gotten for Breath of the Wild 2 and stated that this game looks even more crisp and it doesn't even compare to the original in general. When talking about the footage that we got during the delay announcement, John Linneman in the podcast stated, "This trailer was interesting because the image quality seemed quite good. I was a little bit surprised by how sharp and clear this looked compared to the original in general." To which Ledbetter stated, "It's up for debate whether it is actually running on the normal Switch hardware." Alex Battaglia then chimed in stating, "I honestly don't think it is, just because we have seen so very rarely volumetric clouds on the Switch, and these are like not breaking down super obviously," he said. Another thing that was really obvious in the trailer was the camera cuts have like perfect anti-aliasing, which is even rare for an Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5 game. I don't know what that means necessarily. It could be the next Switch. Battaglia then stated, "I just generally think that since they are delaying it now, I think this is going to be the equivalent of what we saw with Breath of the Wild, where it launches on the old and also on the new, and we see the nice benefits of the new there regarding Switch Pro, Switch 2, or Switch EX, or whatever it's called." Now, what I will say initially is this is a trailer, so they could be using a different console or even a dev kit to record the Breath of the Wild 2 gameplay that we did get showcased, but historically Nintendo usually doesn't do that. Most of the trailers that they create utilize the same hardware that the game is going to launch on, but that's historically how Nintendo does things. If it was Xbox or PlayStation, it would be very believable that it was using a PC dev kit or a render of the in-engine footage. Another thing that we got to take in consideration is Breath of the Wild 1 was not meant to release on the Nintendo Switch. It was actually originally a Wii U title, so we really don't know the true capabilities of the Switch on Breath of the Wild's engine. Maybe they were able to optimize Breath of the Wild 2's engine for the Nintendo Switch to make it look this good, or it could be they're utilizing a dev kit or even just the Nintendo Switch Pro or Nintendo Switch 2 console. With the sheer amount of leaks and rumors for the next Nintendo Switch console, we know that it's bound to happen, and we know it's going to release with a new NVIDIA chip that has the capabilities of DLSS, which, if you guys didn't know, obviously is deep learning super sampling. It's essentially AI upscaling, so it doesn't have to utilize as much performance of the actual hardware, so you can render out less pixel count but AI upscale to make it look like it's even better. So this is a strong possibility of what they're utilizing. Now, with Breath of the Wild 2 being released in the same timeline as Breath of the Wild 1, and Breath of the Wild 1 obviously released alongside the Nintendo Switch, I think history is bound to repeat itself. I don't think Nintendo would release another Switch console that's a true mid-generation leap in performance as well as quality without it releasing alongside a Legend of Zelda game. Nintendo is going to try to continue the success that they had with Breath of the Wild 1 and the Nintendo Switch original release by leveraging the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Now we have to ask ourselves, when are they going to reveal the new Nintendo Switch console? And if we actually take a look at history, it will likely be revealed sometime this October. And then during Nintendo's February Direct, they give us the full launch trailer for Breath of the Wild 2 that announces the release date of sometime in March of 2023. It makes the most sense, and it also keeps them within the fiscal year of 2022, which should give them a final bump for their Q4 earnings of 2022. And then history repeats itself. Whether or not Nintendo is going to be able to give us a big lineup of games that are as big as year one of the Nintendo Switch, I don't know. I think that they will, but only time will tell how the rest rest of the year looks. If this year's summer Nintendo Direct isn't that big and they lean heavily on Generation 9 to get them through the holiday season, then I think Nintendo first party titles have a big year coming up in 2023. But either way, guys, the hype is definitely real. I think Breath of the Wild 2 is destined to release on the new Nintendo Switch hardware, whether that's in the form of a new Nintendo Switch Pro or a 2.0 Switch or whatever they decide to name it. Either way, there is no shot that Breath of the Wild 2 does not release alongside a new Switch. Nintendo is just not going to let that happen. But I am curious to see what your thoughts are. Do you think we're going to get Breath of the Wild 2 as a launch title with a new handheld, or do you think Nintendo is going to leverage the Switch OLED to get them through the full launch cycle of Breath of the Wild 2? But hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, do me a favor, leave a like, and if you guys are looking to stay up to date with everything gaming news, leaks, and rumors, definitely subscribe to my channel with your notifications on, and don't forget to check back again tomorrow for another video like this one. Thank you for watching. This has been Wes, and I will talk to you again soon.